guys, what's going on? The long-awaited interview. Sorry we were late. We got everything all fixed up, and here we are. So Froggystyles here, AJ down below, Mediocre Trader over here, and Misty Shaw down in the bottom corner. I don't know how to get down here pointing, but
hi, Misty Shaw. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
now we're going to ask a series of questions about so we can get to know her more and what her interests are on the board, and then we're going to go from there. Mediocre Trader, you want to try to open things up with any kind of questions or anything like that?
Sure. I just want to say welcome to the chat. And if you guys have a question for Misty Shaw and you'd like to ask your question, just put in a comment and we'll get to it when we can. And, we're just going to have a good time and ask Misty some questions and see what we can get out of her for information. How's that sound?
Terrific.
So I'll ask this. What made you decide to try to get on the board?
My son asked me if I would do it.
Your son asked you if you would do it. Who's your son?
Casey Shaw. Oh, Casey Shaw, yeah. But I'd actually thought about it before that because I wondered, I kept hearing people saying nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. So I asked somebody and they said that's because you would have to give up being able to sell your stocks at the moment you wanted to during the MOAS. And I thought, well, okay, I know somebody that can handle my stocks. The thing is, I've been on several boards and it's something I enjoy doing. And I have a real heart for helping. And I guess that's the key.
Nice. Any questions, AJ or Froggy? Did you like to ask?
So you have previous board experience, so you know exactly what needs to be done in this situation, right?
Well, every board's different. It depends on what kind of board. I'm on an HOA board right now. Okay. I've been on the board of a nonprofit, actually a couple of them. And so each one is different. This one's a money-making enterprise, which none of the others were.
Yep. So
says, okay, done. We got the right person.
They already love you, Mrs. Shaw.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
probably.
One thing that we don't have is community representation on the board.
Right.
So we definitely need one person that can represent us. And like, obviously somebody had to step forward. Casey Shaw is saying that you should step forward. Makes sense because like, I know, like you signed up to do it too. I can't remember the exact process, but how do you get signed up to get voted onto the board?
Well, we don't even know if this is going to work, but what we read and what Casey, I guess, talked to somebody, he sent in a letter of recommendation and said that he was, he holds shares, so he was authorized. And then I filled out a new resume, and he sent in, the two of us made a video a few days ago, and he sent that along just for extra measure. And I think we now have to wait while they look at it, talk about it, and get back to us one way or another.
Right. So right now this is not a sure thing yet. No. But if it does come to fruition, it would be great for the community, and because of that, we want the community to know who you are, and that's the goal of this. If there's any questions, be happy to ask in the comments, and we'll get to them a little bit later on. AJ, you have anything to ask?
Not at this time.
AJ's being good over there.
So
he's getting into his blue glass a little too much. But go ahead.
So I'll ask another question just to keep with the flow, I guess. Do you think that you'll be able to make or help to make any significant changes?
I think the significant change will be having somebody that says, this is what I've been told from the retail side of the house. And I don't think they have anybody telling them those things. They're just kind of going by what they hear and what they see, whatever information they can get. Maybe they have people, friends that are in the community, and they're telling them, we don't know. But it would be good to have somebody on the board that's saying one thing to all of them at the same time.
I agree.
Here's a question from Ant Card. Do you see that pop up on your screen?
I do.
It says, Misty, do you know the history of our play for AMC?
Well, I know Casey's part in it. I mean, he was ready to buy GME. He pulled some money together and sold some other stocks. And just as he was getting ready to do it, he saw that AMC was starting to look very good. Just put all his money into AMC. I've been on board for about 10 months, 9 months, 11 months, I don't know, a while. And what I know is that the hedge funds have been shorting AMC with the intention, before the apes got involved, of knocking it out of existence, basically. They thought it was not worth saving. And from what I understand, that's what hedge funds do, is they pick on little companies that are struggling and get rid of them, which I don't think is very nice, but that's my personal opinion. And the people in the community decided that first GME was really important. The way it was explained to me, there's a lot of nerds in the community, and they didn't want to, or nerds and game players, they didn't want to see this company go out of business, because that's where you get a lot of the good stuff, the games. I've been to the stores, GameStop stores, with my grandkids. I could have been there all day. I was having so much fun. So I get it. I get it with GME. I get it with AMC. As a kid, I wasn't allowed to go to movies. And so once I got away from home, I just kind of went crazy, and I love going to the theater.
So do I.
Yeah, I think it's I've been recently because of everything going on. I don't really not that I don't like the movies, but I didn't go often. But I've been going more and more because of the situation.
And the popcorn's good.
That's right.
So hi, Brenda. I hope you're feeling better. So Brenda's another how do I say, a creator in the community, and she says, "Good evening, all."
Hi,
Good evening, Brenda.
You got a question, anybody? Froggy?
Yeah. As far as being a board member, like, I don't know too much about like what they do on the board. Obviously, they talk about important kind of stuff and stuff like that. And like, what kind of things could you bring to the table that could be like important at a board meeting?
Well, one of the things that I noticed when I was doing a little research is that the anniversary for AMC Cares, which is their charitable giving kind of arm, has been around for 20 years this year, but it hasn't made any big splash, or hasn't seemed to really affect a lot of change for the company. And that's something I sort of have specialized in, is making changes through volunteer work and people getting involved in a community. And I would like to try to help AMC Cares become something a little bit bigger and stronger that would be a benefit. I understand it's not made for that. I mean, it's made to help other people, but in the helping, you get back what you put into it, really. So if the communities that our theaters are in sees that the theater is really helping the community, whatever they need helping, just forging bonds of some sort, then I think it really improves our bottom line. maybe not from movies immediately, but relationships can never be a bad thing. Well, unless you have a bad one. But I mean, business relationships are helpful. It's like networking on a giant scale.
Yeah, pretty much. And it does seem like Adam Aaron likes to stay in contact with people by social media. And I think that's been one of his strong suits there, because if it wasn't for social media, you would not hear from him probably. And the fact that he's on social media kind of doing like an Elon Musk kind of thing, but on a softer scale, I think that's been kind of big, because the people kind of rallied around him and they like him just because of the fact that he does reach out and kind of, I don't even know what you call it, but he actually interacts with people, and they like that. So, yes. Now, what would you do the same kind of thing, like communicate through social media or reach out to the community? Because we have a pretty massive community of people that are pretty obsessed over this play. If you listen to the media, they call us a cult, which is crazy, but I get what their perspective is. And actually, just recently, there was what's that? Fox News had that one thing where that lady was trying to say that we were bad for holding the stock, and
I know
it caused all kinds of problems. And like, we have a strong, tight community that, yeah, there's got some problems in it where there's conflicts or whatever, and we're trying to iron all that stuff out. And they're trying to make us look like a bad guy, and all we're doing is holding the stock for a company that we want to see survive. Now, if we would have done this with Blockbuster, which, are you familiar with that one?
Of course.
If we would have done the same thing with Blockbuster, we could have saved that one too. And like, I think it's kind of a shame that we didn't catch on soon enough to what the short attack was actually all about.
But before you answer that question, Misty, I want to add to his question, and I want to ask, how good are you at keeping secrets if need be?
I spent 12 years as an Air Force intelligence officer.
Ooh, that's good.
They trusted me.
So it's how do I say it? It's easy to say that if you were sworn to secrecy and you couldn't release information to the ape community, you wouldn't do so.
No, I wouldn't.
Perfect.
But I think that the best way to make sure that I don't is don't get into situations where people are trying to ask me stuff. So for that reason, I would be a lot happier keeping most communications in like email or public gatherings like this, so it's all recorded and people can see exactly what happened. I also I was talking to a friend, and she said, well, why aren't you thinking about SurveyMonkey? You could do surveys. And the problem is that when I talked about it with Casey, he said you would want to make sure that the people that are actually replying to that survey were people who have shares. So if I could get on the board, then I would want to work with the company to verify the people who want to answer the questions on the survey. But that would give us information that we would have statistics. We could actually say this percentage of people said this, and this percentage disagreed, and this percentage. I mean, there's a lot of ways it would really help focus what people are feeling and thinking. And I think that's important. And there's another benefit that I was thinking about. Right now, the public image of the apes, the people in Reddit or Twitter or wherever they're calling us from, social media, the meme stockholders are getting a bad rap a lot. And if I am said to be kind of a spokesperson, which I have been for the Air Force, then it would be kind of cool because I could plant some new seeds, some new ideas of who we are, what we're about, what we care about.
Yeah, see, in my opinion, most of the people in the community would probably do something generous with their money that they would get from the play and try to either help another company or help other people. But we haven't had that opportunity because they've kind of robbed us of that back in January and then again in June. And like, it's kind of interesting how they paint us as the bad guy when we beat them fair and square. They keep cheating to rip us off,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's mind blowing.
Yes, it is.
There's another thing that will probably garner a little bit of attention, and that is I've already made a statement saying that I would not be willing to be paid for this job, even though I know the other board members are. But if it's insisting, if they're insisting, or some people, actually some of the people here are insisting, I would be donating it, probably about half of it, to the AMC Care program, and then I have some other favorite nonprofits that I would donate the rest to. So that would help beef up the care program, and it would also show that at least this ape, and by the way, my name on Reddit is Mama Ape. It would kind of, I think it would help. I mean, I have a heart for people, and my history shows that. And I think a lot of the people I've met in this community are the same way. A lot of good folks.
Now, I got a question here from Danny. I'll just pull it up here on the screen. Danny says, just curious, what happened to your currently owned shares? Are you still allowed to keep them if you are chosen? And I don't know all the rules on that kind of stuff. You might know more about that. Could you touch on that?
I don't know. And we would probably, okay, typically it would either have to go into a blind trust or it would have to be given away. And so either way, I've got family members that are all holding shares, and I can divvy it up between my kids. I could ask Casey just to manage it. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities. And honestly, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah. I think giving it to Casey to manage would probably be the easiest, quickest route to take care of it. So it makes total sense. I mean, because there's people on the board that do have shares. They usually keep them for a very short period of time. But that's
exactly.
If you look at it, we have a vote coming up. And after looking at things, the only person I voted yes to is Adam Aaron. Because like I feel that his experience and decades of doing what he does, not only does he understand business, he also understands like the world around us and how weird it is, and he understands how to do all that stuff. So there's like one part of me wanted to think about, what if we got one of them younger go-getters to get in there, but they only know the basics. And then you got Adam Aaron, who's got tons of experience, and you can't put money on that. You know what I mean? And so I'm voting all my shares yes to him. But the rest of the board that's on there, they've kind of dropped their shares with quickness back when time was prime for them. And now they're starting to want voted back in. And it brings questions like, you weren't really there for us when we needed you. You didn't diamond hand or nothing. You sold major millions. And that's the thing that makes me wonder is like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think there are people in the business world of the AMC company, and there are apes who have paper hands on both sides. And I've been hearing people talk, especially with things that are happening right now, about what's going to happen and what am I going to do and when should I sell. And all these times everybody's been saying hold, or hodl, whichever way you want to look at it. But now suddenly when it's getting close, people are saying, I need to think about selling. Well, I think the community needs to decide when to sell as much as possible, even though that would be, I'm not advocating for anybody giving financial advice, but I am saying that if you have 10% people selling here and another 10% over here pretty soon, and then right after that somebody else, it's going to erode what's happening. And I think that's going to mess it up for the people who will try to hold on. I think some of those things need to be talked about.
Yeah, I kind of wish some of the topics would be brought more to public and like brought before the shareholders, because like we've been here for a year and we've asked so many questions and we don't hear any kind of
Response.
like, yeah, nothing. And the one thing that I don't know if this is even possible, but if we did have you in there on the board, would it be possible that you come back out to the community and start talking to all of us and like just getting ideas from us and taking it back to the board and kicking things around with them? Would that be a possibility?
You know, I'm willing to do anything like that, but it will be determined by the board and by the retail community. I mean, I would be very happy to be nothing but a conduit, but I have to have input from both sides.
Here's a good question by Ant Card. He always asks good questions. It says, have you a list of priority things that you want to tackle in regards to AMC share issues? And what's your number one on your list?
That's a very good question. And I have some ideas, but it's not about me. My way of seeing how this job is supposed to go is to know or to find out better what the community wants. I don't have a hidden agenda that's a big deal. It's been not even a week since Casey asked me about this. And so I haven't really, I have this huge platform of all the things I want to do. No, my goal is to help. My goal is to help the community give information to the board, and the board, if possible, give responses, but then to also help the board in whatever way I can, and then find ways that help the community, for example, by maybe helping our public image. I think those are the kinds of things that I want to do. But the number one thing for me is finding out what you need, what you have highest on your priority, not you personally, but the whole group. And I don't think there's anybody that is internally that's speaking for everybody. It's kind of like you need to have your own board that's coming up with some ideas. And these are the things that we have problems with. These are the things we want to see changed. These are the things that are really going great. We think they should be expanded.
Now, there was a guy over on Ape Radio. I can't remember exactly what his name was. I don't want to just guess the name and probably be wrong. But he was actually collecting ideas from the community on like a Sunday, and he would write them all down, and he would hand deliver a list to AMC. And Adam Aaron actually admitted he was getting like thousands of ideas from this guy. But it would be nice to hear him like read a couple off and say, like, I like this one. We're going to look into this one. But just saying we caught the list, I mean, it's cool that we know it got there, but, maybe he's tackling so much that he can't, maybe he doesn't have a to-do list.
Maybe he needs somebody to shepherd some of those ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs, an assistant.
Yeah. Assistant or just a staff member. I was on the staff of the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs for a while, and I worked for the Secretary of the Air Force's office in a couple of, I turned my phone on to take some notes, and it's interfering there. So I really know what it is to be a team player. You can't be a maverick and do well in the military, contrary to popular belief.
Oh, so Top Gun's is not a thing? I had to throw that in there.
I've played war games. It's a lot of fun.
I'm going to see if I can understand this question here, because maybe I'm misreading it here. It says, are you going to represent retailers who own 90% of the company with a question mark? And said, would you give your majority power to make a decision? I'm thinking in our behalf. I think that's what he's questioning.
I don't think they divide it up that way. It would take a bunch of you voting for me to get me on the board if it were a voting situation. But I'm not sure when. Usually the time that they vote people onto the board is during the annual meeting. The annual meeting's coming up, but I'm not sure that my name could be on that because you've already voted for people for the board. So I think that part is too late. The only other way to get me on, at least based on my previous board experience, is to do a write-in vote.
Yeah.
And if enough people wrote my name in, that there was, a huge amount, then I think they would be sort of required to put me on the board. But I haven't read all of their rules. They've got a lot of paperwork to read starting, but I'm not there.
A lot of this, I just want to say to the community, a lot of this is to get shareholders in the community to find out who Mistie Shaw is and ask her some questions to see if you're willing to write her in. I mean, there's open spots on the board. We can really use somebody who can help, and if she's willing to get on the board and help, I don't see what the problem would be. So I think we should ask her some questions and see where she stands with that. And I think it's a great thing that we're doing right now.
Now, here's a question that comes in from Miss Harris. It says, why should we choose you to represent retail for the AMC board position? So it's just a standard kind of question, like what would you do for the retail community, basically?
Well, I think we've kind of talked about that. I would see if I can help with our public image. I would try to have the ear of board members so that they know what people are telling me from the community. And when allowed to do so, I would share information back so that you know firsthand where it's coming from, which communications is a huge thing. Without good communications, you can't have great relationships. So if there's any intention of having a relationship with the company, AMC company, with the stockholders, then there has to be some kind of communication.
I agree. Transparency is important. Communication is definitely important to it. You have to build trust in order for people to want to follow what you say, and that's the board that they currently got. A lot of people don't know much about them because they don't even reach out to us or try to talk to us. It's like only Adam talks to us.
And it's hard to trust somebody that you can't put a face on.
Exactly. Like we don't know who the other board members are. We only know Adam Aaron.
And they're same about us. They don't have a face to focus on and say, this is the face of the people over there that own our stock.
I got a face for them. Have them check this one out.
That one is memorable.
I mean, I personally like Adam Aaron. To be honest, I just want him to be a lot more stern and witty to get information out. And if we can have somebody else with the power to stand up and say, I don't think we should do this. We should, find ways to pay down the debt, things like that. That support what the shareholders want would be great. And and I'm curious if you would be able to at least be a voice for the apes in those types of questions.
Now, I'm not sure if this is a proper question to ask because usually board members don't go and tell what the other board members are planning and doing, like a press release kind of thing. But I get how this is a question. Could we get some answers on as to why the board continues to sell off their awarded shares? And that's where I'm sitting here thinking, like, I don't know if that would actually be releasable information. I wish I knew the answer to that myself. But that's kind of the insider information that we're probably not allowed to know.
And there's another possibility. If they're not allowed to manage it, then it may be rather frustrating having it just sit there and no control over it. It might be easier for them to just have somebody sell it for them, and then, it's not, when they watch all of you guys making tons of money with your stocks and they can't, that's going to be hard.
So do you think they can't sell during a squeeze, or do you think they can still file that, was that called a Form 4? So then it gives them like that window?
Yeah. Is it 4 or 8 or something? I'm not sure that they are actually doing the selling. I know that it's their stock that's being sold, but it might be whoever's managing it for them or holding it for them or something.
Oh, they can definitely file a form.
Well, yes, the form is filed with their name on it. They have to sign it, but they don't get to make the decisions, I don't think. I think they can tell them at the beginning when they put it into this account. I don't really know for sure, guys. I remember when we have presidents that come, if they have a lot of investments, they're not allowed to continue to handle them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a similar kind of thing.
Yep, that's true. I know when Adam Aaron sold his shares, he had to go through a third party to do it. So it's basically hands-free. And he announced it ahead of time, and that wasn't the problem that I ever had with it. It was the fact that he said he was going to sell his, and then like 9 others behind him were like, me too. And that's where I kind of got a little frustrated with the board. So I can see that as being one of the questions that probably will be demanded to be answered. Not saying by you, but I think by them. And I think that's what's going to change the voting, is the fact that people see what happened and they never answered for it. So there was no accountability. While we're over there diamond handing, they're over there cashing out millions. And that was craziness.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd really like to know if Adam Aaron intentionally let everybody know that his shorts were exposed on the video with trades.
I think that's an accident. Because if you know how anybody, and this goes into media and stuff too, they only worry about the top half and what they look like, and the bottom half is like whatever. And it ain't just him that's been caught that way. So, there's a lot of them that have been caught not wearing pants; they're wearing shorts and a whole dress suit up top and whatever. So, I guess
I don't know if you've ever seen that video where Trades is doing the interview and the camera actually falls down and shows Adam Aaron as half naked in his shorts. And it was just ironic that all the shorts were exposed kind of thing. And it was like, kind of like, oh, was that supposed to happen or not?
Well, if you noticed in the last earnings, what the heck they call it, the earnings thing, the earnings call that he had there, he said he makes his own tweets. So obviously it's his own brain, his own thought, and he's putting in all these like purposely selected words to make sure that he's not saying the wrong thing. And it also has a little bit more meaning to it than just what you see. So maybe he did do something similar like that, but I doubt it. I think that was more of a oops, because Adam Aaron's what, 60 some years old? So if he accidentally bumped the camera, it's probably naturally happened. You know what I mean?
Or he's a funny guy.
I think it was a joke.
I think that's very possible. Or a sly message.
Exactly.
Yeah, sly message. Because, Elon Musk does like the same thing where he'll post a cryptic message on his Twitter. You have to decode the message in your own brain. And it's discreet enough so he doesn't get flagged by the SEC. And just like, Elon Musk had made shorts that he could sell on his website. Well, Adam Aaron had just purchased a gold mine. I mean,
Now,
you know,
wait, what does SEC stand for again? Isn't that Short Seller Enhancement Committee?
Yes.
Yeah, Elon's been playing games with them for a while. I made a suggestion to Adam Aaron about selling shorts. I mean, we've seen it happen once before, so I think that'd be kind of like a trademark kind of thing. If you went out there selling, who cares what they look like? They could be
Put
like
the
rainbow
yeah.
colored. All I care.
Put the AMC logo on them.
Yep.
So,
well, he said, forget that. I'm just going to buy a gold mine.
yeah, he did.
Dynamite says, I'm less concerned with charity. I'm more concerned about paying off some of the debt. Now, the debt issue, I didn't realize this.
We're on the same page, but.
Did you get a chance to look at any of the financial stuff? As far as, like,
but I understand, is it $3 billion that they're kind of trying to get rid of?
They owe 5, but they got 1.8 in the bank.
Okay.
So roughly 3, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's I think paying off your bills, anybody should pay off their bills. I pay off my credit cards all the way every month. I'm not sure that it pays corporations to do that because they lose some of their tax benefits. They need to structure things a certain way to keep those tax advantages. But I do think that it would be nice if we were getting some kind of enough of a profit that when there should be what is it called when they give back a little bit of money for each stock?
Dividend,
that's the word. Dividend. I think it would be nice if we got a little dividend someday. And I've heard that from a fair number of people.
What a dividend does, and I understand right now they have it structured with their loans and stuff where they agreed through debt covenants that they won't produce a dividend. And Adam hasn't released it yet on how many of those he got loosened up for us. I know he was working on it at one point, and I think the dividend would have pretty much blew up the shorts at this point because a lot of companies use dividends to keep the shorts in check. And whenever you can't put a dividend out there, we'll say there's 5.16 billion shares out there. Well, stock agreements. They're not shares if you look at it. But when you call them, because the DTCC owns all the shares and we just get agreements to play with them, like rights to ownership or whatever. And so if they have 5.16 billion of these little contracts out there, or we'll just call them shares just for everybody knows that's what they're called. If Adam was to offer $1 per share, he'd have to pay $516 million, and the shorts would have to cover the other $4.5 billion worth of dividends. And I just exaggerated by saying $1 because before it was 20 cents. And quick math for me off 20 cents would have probably threw me in a loop. But so I went with $1 on it. But you see what would happen there is he would pay for a small fraction, and then all the extra would get rewarded to the shareholders. So he would pay a small amount, and then the shareholders would get like a couple billion extra dollars, and they would probably turn that right into more stock.
Yes.
And that's how they keep shorts in check. Now with these debt covenants, he can't even offer 1 penny, which 1 penny allows, I think it's the Fed or somebody, or not the Fed, who is it that comes in and checks the share count? It's not the FBI, but
FINRA.
Somebody comes in and they go and make sure that 516 million shares on the dot get their guaranteed 1 penny. And then the rest of them have to be covered, and they make sure that they're all covered. And that's where they get like these wild numbers. And we can't get that check and balance because there's an agreement saying we can't do it. And it's mind blowing that the fact that that's probably one of the things that we do need to basically protect the stock. Another thing that we need is, like, if you notice, the SEC makes it a rule that if Adam Aaron's not allowed to tell us too much information, or that he can get fined for it. So if there was more shares out there, he's not allowed to come out and say, yeah, there's more shares out there. He has to go and report it to the SEC and let them do their job. And as you can see, they're holding up a cup that says we need coffee money. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
bribe money? Like, you misspelled
So true.
coffee.
Yeah, but we can have 100%, 65 days, 100%
Utilization. Yeah.
utilization, yeah, for 65, 66 days, something like that now.
Now,
And we're still selling and buying.
100%
Exactly.
utilization means there's no more shares to borrow. Is that not right, AJ?
Yes, that's really that's what Casey said.
That's yeah, in theory, yes.
We're going to have to get your blue cup checked for some PEDs in there.
Yeah, the other thing is you got 95% buy pressure, buy orders today versus what was it, 5% sell orders? It's just crazy.
Here's a question for AJ. At 100% utilization means there's no more shares to borrow. And the cost to borrow hasn't went up at all pretty much since we've been at 100% utilization. Where do you think they got 9 million shares borrowed today? Like,
I'm sure they got it from some of the other institutions like Blackrock and Vanguard, and they can call Blackrock. They have their phone number over there. They're like, hey, guy at Blackrock, hey, can I borrow this many shares at AMC? He's like, well, you're gonna have to pay me for these. He's like, yeah, anything to stop this from happening. He says you're gonna pay 20%. He's like, done. Okay, you got the shares to borrow. And it's just like that. They can go ahead and short those shares, borrow those shares from the institution for whatever set fee that they negotiate, and short the stock with it.
now, if I remember right, Blackrock and Vanguard, they bought in after I did, which is like, I think they're closer to probably $12 a share minimum price. And then they bought a whole bunch more after that, like 4X from there. So their dollar cost average is probably about $12.50 minimum, because they only bought I think 6 million, then they jumped up like 20 million 2 days after I went in. So why would they go and lend out their shares at a cheaper price than what they paid? Does that make any sense?
But can't they lend them out over and over and over again? So
That's called
exactly.
rehypothecation. That's the craziest loophole rule I've ever heard.
So it doesn't matter if they get less each time, they're still compounding it.
Yeah, I never understood how, okay, so everybody knows what fractional reserve banking is, where, AJ goes and makes $1 million, he puts it in the bank and they loan it to me. Then I put it in the bank and they loan it over to Mediocre. Then he puts his in the bank and then they loan it to Mistie. So then we all think we have $1 million apiece. That's $4 million on a table, but there's originally only $1 million floating around between all of us. So at any point, if AJ pulls his money out, the bank don't have the money for any of us except for him. Now, that's called fractional reserve banking. They do the same thing with stocks. It's called rehypothecation, where AJ has 1 million shares and he puts it on his brokerage account and they lend it out to me. So I buy 1 million and I put it on my brokerage account and they lend it out to Mediocre. And it's the same exact thing. So we all think we got 4 million shares collectively. AJ sells his and then we have none. So then now you got this recalling process. And that's how we got into this mess. That's why I'm pretty sure, 100% sure, we are well over float. Because if they go and do it, so if they want to do a stock audit where they're going to be like, oh, let's go count the real shares, where do you think they go? Into your brokerage account and audit? No, they head to the DTCC who has the real shares, and they count them, and they're like, nope, they're all still here. Well, why didn't they go check in your account for the IOUs? The whole system is so broken, and we're just figuring it out now.
Use that example with the title loan you told me before, Froggy style. That was even better one.
Which one's that?
The example with the title loan, or not the title loan. But...
Okay, so the DTCC sells AJ a brand new truck. Then they sell me one. Then they sell Mediocre one and Mistie one. So we all think we got a truck. We're waiting for it to get delivered. It doesn't show up. It's called an FTD. Like, this is real. I can't believe this is really our market. And they're like, trust me, bro, your stuff's coming. Like, I don't know. And these grandfathered in loopholes have been here for so long that they've been taking advantage of these loopholes for so long that they make it complex on purpose so we don't understand it.
Oh, and you file a complaint with the SEC department. They say, here's what they say. Here's the response. They say, well, I think you should take classes in the stock market.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, you don't want to see me in person right now. I'll tell you that.
Well, when you call them up, did you ever notice how slow they talk? Like, they're trying to like delay this so you get bored and get off the phone. Like, if you want to talk to somebody here at the SEC, and I'm like, yo, speed it up. Like, I ain't got all day. Like, I work for a living. I got to get to work tomorrow.
We got any more questions?
I'm working on getting through it. I got sidetracked on.
Yeah, no, you did.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we got.
I promised a friend of mine. I wouldn't keep his mother too late.
He's looking out for me. I go walking every morning between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. It says, what would you do if one of our decisions was truly unpopular among other members on the board? Which I'm pretty sure they probably wouldn't agree with everything we say because they're looking at business aspect and we're looking at benefit for the community. So there's obviously going to be a double-edged sword here.
Ms. Harris, that's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it.
Ms. Harris, it is a great question, but you're not going to like the answer. First of all, when you say one of your decisions, our decisions in the community are not binding in any way on the board. So my job is to kind of present it as a request, not a decision. And then if it still doesn't make any headway, I need to come back and talk to you guys and say, how important is this? Are you willing to, there's different levels of importance as far as what are you willing to give up to try to get whatever it is you want. I think there's other things that are better to do, and that's if we can build a relationship with them so they start to trust us, then let's get a second person on the board. Then let's get a third person on the board. So we have a little bit of weight. One person is just a voice in the wilderness, possibly. But maybe that one person can pave the way for more people. That would be my goal. I don't expect to move mountains. That's not really what I'm there for. It's to inform, to try to make slight changes as possible, to listen, to gain information.
Now, here's another good one here from Super Steven. I like this guy because he's got some law experience and he's pretty smart and he pays attention to details. So it's kind of nice to hear his input on things. He said, I'd vote for Mistie Shaw over Anthony Sayich. If I remember right, isn't Anthony Sayich the one that's like pro-China?
Yes. Yeah. That's why I gave him the X.
So I'm just thinking, like nothing against China, but you got to focus on your home first before you start taking care of other places. And Anthony Sayich, that's one of the ones that I really didn't like as soon as I looked at his resume. I was like, how did this guy get on the board? But yeah, and that's just it. We needed to start getting rid of some of these people that don't have the people's best interest too. I get it. You want to run a business to where the business is successful, but you got to have people that really care about the community, the people, the customers, and you make it all grow together.
I think that he was brought on the board when they were working with Wanda. And having somebody that was familiar with China and doing business in China was kind of important.
Yeah, China is kind of a big market, but yeah, it probably makes sense. I'll have to look into it and see if that's how he got on there, was through Wanda. Do we really need him still on there? And
No,
last
that's
I
how-
remember, there's still somebody
how he
on there
got on
from
there.
Apollo too.
I'm pretty sure that's how he got on there. Was because of Wanda. I think Wanda put him on the board because they had so much shares.
Right now, the atmosphere in China is not very welcoming to Western ideas or particularly Western people. After being there 12 years, my friends are all telling me don't come back at this point for a while. And I think there's a lot of possibility, opportunity there, but I think Wanda has a pretty good handle on it. They don't need us anymore. They've learned a lot from us, and they're going to make hay while the sun shines, and we're gone.
Oh, I must have missed a question here. Yeah, Danny R says, I know you mentioned that you wanted to help expand and improve AMC's charity program. What other ideas besides charity do you think you can bring to the table?
I come up with ideas for fixing problems. I'm pretty good at that. And I'm also, in the past, I've been known for finding, like, if there's money issues, I'm good at spotting things that should be questions that people might have missed. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. That means master of none, but I really am a generalist. I can do everything a little bit and nothing stupendously well. I don't have a PhD. I have a couple of MAs, but I'm not an expert, but I'm good at stuff.
I don't think there's anybody experts today. I'm not an expert either in my field, so I feel you there.
So I think the way that they would probably use me is just see what nobody else wants to do and then ask me if I'll do it, which is fine. I think because there are only 3 committees right now, and not everybody's even on a committee, there's probably some jobs that need doing, and I don't know what they are.
Here's another one here.
Ant card again.
Yep. Apes will have big expectations on you, and it will take a heavy hit on your well-being. What are your expectations to us apes?
Try to speak with less than 4 million voices. Try to unify. Try real hard to unify. And I wouldn't worry about me too much. I'm used to walking kind of a different way.
Let me see. Give me a second. I'm still reading through here to try to get caught back up.
I'm looking at this one. Javi the Great says, I'm an expert at buying and holding.
Maybe we can have 3 more questions and call it a night for today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let me get down through here. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Okay.
Sorting through all the good ones.
He's looking. I'm kind of looking at some stuff. Apes versus Wall Street says, I'm an expert on loving you is beautiful. You know, Apes, if you weren't a creator, I probably wouldn't have read that, but that's funny. I wasn't expecting that. I should have read it before I read it.
This is actually a tough question. Would there be anything she can do to make sure the SEC does their job and share value goes up? We need an even or a fair playing field. I'm not sure if you can force the SEC to do their job. They're supposed to be like honorable and do like good things naturally, but I think the system itself's been so corrupted that, I mean, it's basically a pay to play system where if you don't put money in their coffee cup, they don't do any work for you. And I don't know if that's exactly what Gary Gensler was kind of hinting at, but that's sure what it felt like to me, knowing that a lot of politics is pay to play, and they help you if you grease their palms. Isn't that what happened to Janet Yellen? She got her palms greased, and all of a sudden now she's doing certain things.
Yeah, this is true.
So I mean,
$800,000 greased.
Yep. And that's the thing I worry about is like how many more people in this system that are supposed to do what's best for us, and they're purposely not doing it because somebody gave them a little bit more money. I mean, Gary Gensler has made it very clear. We need coffee money. I'm like, how are we supposed to give you coffee money even if we wanted to, if we don't get our squeeze?
Exactly.
I mean, one hand washes the other. The guy don't understand.
Maybe
he does.
We got to donate to the SEC to get anywhere. That's what he says.
Maybe what he's really saying is he doesn't need coffee money. He needs a coffee plantation in Brazil.
Yeah. He needs something.
He needs some time down in Gitmo is what he needs.
If it wasn't for Jon Stewart, we would have never found out.
Oh man, that was such a good interview.
Out begging for money.
He pretty much exposed the SEC in that one interview. It was so crazy.
It's funny stuff.
Let me read through here a couple more.
Oh, go ahead. Bobby says, I think Gary Gensler is in fear of his life to do the right thing. They're a bunch of gangsters he needs to pacify. Interesting.
Did you see Gary Gensler's in the chat?
Oh, we got our Gary Gensler in there.
He's here. Hey, hi, Gary.
Gary, your ears must have been burning.
Gary, do you have a question for Miss Mistie Shaw?
Oh, I can only imagine.
I can only imagine too, but it should be good. We got to make a little bit of comedy, Misty.
Yeah, we got Gary Gensler following us around. He gets mad when we ask him to do stuff.
I mean, he takes a beating every day on social media. On his Twitter, I tell you what, that guy probably doesn't even go on Twitter because he knows.
Here he goes. Put it up here.
He's like, trust me, I got your back.
Right. Show it. Show the comment for everybody.
I'm not down that far yet.
All right. You just read it off the new list. We'll show it after. That's funny stuff. So, would you, Misty, would you speak out if there were asking to do things that could harm the ape movement and its investors. If not actually harm them, because that's against their fiduciary duty, but if they were making bad decisions that wouldn't help investors, would you speak out against them?
I would advocate behind closed doors very strongly. And I would look for, I'm pretty good at research. I would get as much information as I could to find out why they're leaning that direction and see if there's a way to combat it. The whole idea of follow the money is kind of an important one. And I was an investigative journalist, and I like doing that kind of thing and figuring out problems. And if people are making bad decisions, there's a reason behind it.
Nice. See if I could think of a couple more questions. You don't have any questions, AJ, you can think of?
No, she's answered a lot, so
Yes.
I'm grateful to have her on here. So
Thank you.
I am too.
I saw a question a while ago that said, tell a story about Casey when he was a kid.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is that a good way to end?
Yeah, we could do that.
So when he was about 14, he had a BB gun, and the kids all had a great time with it. And his bedroom had a nice big window looking out over the pool. And we were not home. My husband and I were out, and Casey and the kids, he was the oldest of 3 kids, and I think there was a couple of friends over. And we get this phone call saying, a shot has been fired from across the canyon. We were up on a hill, across the canyon, and it broke Casey's window. We all went running home, drove home, and sure enough, the window was shattered and there's glass everywhere. And oh man. When we first moved in, before my husband had joined us, he was still back in the DC area, we were doing something, having dinner one night, and all of a sudden we heard, put your hands up, we've got the house surrounded. And we thought it was our house. I mean, it sounded like it was right there. So we remembered that, and so we were kind of a little shaky, because later we found out there was a meth lab next door to us. It was a good area. The houses were worth a lot of money, but it was very wide spaces. So we were kind of nervous about this, and we never did get it resolved, got the window replaced. And about 3 years ago, Casey admitted he shot the window out when he was playing with the BB gun. So, kids.
Yeah.
None of you have secrets you haven't told your parents, right?
Yeah, right.
We've been totally honest when we were little kids.
Listen, Miss Misty, we're live right now, so I can't disclose anything. Funny stuff.
Yeah, having him talk would be like evidence on this video.
Kids are funny, but he grew up. He's pretty honest now. As far as I know, he's very honest. But yeah. But one of the things he says to people is that, and when he was a kid, I was, well, let me just put it this way. I knew more about computers than my kids did when they were in high school. So I could check and find their histories and relay all kinds of information they didn't think I knew. And so he said that in order for him to get away with anything, he not only had to lie, but he had to believe his own lies, or it wouldn't be convincing enough. And I think he really did.
So there's a couple of questions here from Gary Ginsler. I'd like to address. He said he can't do anything because Ken Griffin has his hands tied behind his back. I don't know if you've seen that. I'm sorry.
Well, Gary needs that coffee money, so Ken Griffin's he's probably robbing Peter to pay Ginsler over here.
Chris just said is there a specific issue that you can see should be corrected now that you could speak up about? And yes, and that's the lack of communication. That is critical, because you guys think they know this or they're saying this, and they think what's going on over there, if they even know or care. And I think that needs to be remedied as soon as possible.
I really hope that everybody enjoyed the show, and I appreciate the people who got their question answered. And I'd really like to encourage people to, to think about remembering this video or rewatching it or whatever, and kind of spread the word about Mistie Shaw. So it would be really nice to be able to get somebody on the board, and we need somebody who has credentials to do so. And I think Mistie Shaw is very capable for the position. Just my thoughts.
Agreed.
Thank you very much for
Yeah, thank you for coming on, because I know Casey was asking me to see if I can work an interview and stuff, and I kind of threw it together. If you've seen the thumbnail I was working on, I think it took me like 30 minutes to make it up, and that's why I was running late in the first place. Then we had mic issues, and then other issues, and I was like, well, I guess that's kind of part of this internet process, I guess.
Yeah, but we worked through those, and I think it was a great interview. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a nice evening, gentlemen.
All right.
Well,
You too.
For everybody in chat, please hit
We're
that
gonna
like
say goodbye. Yeah.
For everybody here, go ahead and say your goodbyes and stuff, and I'll close things out.
Go ahead, AJ.
So I want to say thank you for everybody that came and watched the interview with Mistie Shaw. Without you, this is why we do this. And everybody better say thank you to Mistie Shaw for spending her time on here. And we'll talk all later.
I'm gonna go next, so Mistie can go before you close out, Froggy. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and watching the stream. Don't forget to beat the like button and subscribe button on all of our channels, and hop over to Froggy's, do the same. And thank you for coming out and watching the live stream with Mistie Shaw. And we'll see you in the next video. Go ahead, Mistie.
Thank you so much for spending the time to listen and ask questions. And I really do hope that you guys will be figuring out how you can get together on some of the issues so that we have more of a united front focus. Have a great evening. Bye.
Yeah, and I think that staying united as a community and doing everything together is important. So that's what we're trying to do, is keep everybody united for one common good purpose, and it seems like it's working. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Have a good night, and we'll be back on tomorrow, 30 minutes before market close, so catch us there. Till then, I'm feeling froggy, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.